This is Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio coverage of the National Conference on Philanthropic Planning. We're in San Antonio, Texas. The conference is sponsored by the Partnership for Philanthropic Planning. My guest now is Claire Meyerhoff. Claire is editorial director of the Plan Giving Company, and she also has her own, the Planned Giving Agency, which she is principal of. Claire Meyerhoff, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. And Tony, I've brought a very special gift for you from San Antonio. It is a law badge, Texas Ranger, and it says Tony.
It does say Tony.
I think you should put
Texas
it on.
Ranger Tony. Okay. Now you know why Claire is also in her credentials creative director for this show, because she brings little things like this. Now, yesterday was her birthday, and yet today she's bringing me a gift. Thank you.
That's just the kind of gal I am.
Thank you for my Texas Ranger badge.
Howdy, partner.
Yes.
Put it on. That looks great.
Absolutely.
Now, everyone will know that you're a Texas Ranger, so you can go arrest people and put them in jargon jail.
That's true. I can use this for jargon jail. Yes, now I just need a little set of keys. I always wanted a little set of warden's keys for jargon jail. Okay. So what messages have you been hearing consistently at the conference, Claire?
Well, something I've been hearing at the conference is that people really want to take it up a notch as far as their marketing. We're hearing that a lot of people are doing more advertising, say within their organizational magazines, and they've been doing the same old ads forever, and so they'd like to do something a little bit different. So that's something I've been hearing just sort of on the street, just from chatting with people.
Yeah, and what are they? Do they have any intentions or ideas about what the difference is? What everybody wants to do something different. What direction?
Well, I think that they just don't really know. They're plan giving people. They're not Don Draper. They're not Darren Stevens from the McMahon and Tate advertising agency. Yeah. So they need a little bit of help, and that's what I really like to do, is doing ads. I just did one for North Carolina State University, and when I was talking with my client about what kind of ad they wanted to do, B. Sanford, who's the associate director there, said, I've always loved this statistic about how people spend more time planning their vacations than planning their wills. And we said, that's a great thing. What if we did something with that and then drove people to your website, to the will planning tool that you have? Mm-hmm. So choose one thing and then gear it towards that. So we came up with an ad. It's a woman on the beach. She's, in her 50s, and she's cool. And she's on the beach, and it says 243 number of hours she spent planning her vacation. Then it's 0 number of hours spent planning her estate.
Yeah.
And then the copy something like, she has everything she needs for her dream vacation, but she doesn't have a will. She's not alone. 65% of Americans don't have a will. But now's a great time to start planning. Go to our website. And then a little messaging kind of like, and while you're there, leave us a gift too.
Okay.
So it's not about planned giving. It's not about the bequest. It's about the donor. So that really truly is donor-centric, to speak to them and an issue that they might be having. So.
In a clever way also.
In a clever way that gets their attention, because you have to remember that in a magazine, whether it's for your university or your favorite nonprofit, you're kind of flipping through it, and something has to catch your attention. And it may not be the same old messaging about leaving a legacy. That might not catch the person's attention.
All right, so let's use that as a segue. Claire wants to ask me some questions. So we are actually going to change positions and turn tables. Claire's going to be behind the board, but don't touch anything here.
I won't touch anything.
It's very technical. It's all very technical. No, Claire has a background in radio. She knows I'm making fun of her. She knows.
So
she knows more about the board than I do.
I really do.
But we're going to switch.
I wonder if you. Okay, right. Let's take off our headphones and we're going to switch. Okay, make a lot of noise. And we're moving. Switching. Now I'm at Tony's seat.
Okay.
So are our levels the same?
Well, you can adjust them.
Adjust them. Okay, 4 minutes into the program. This is Claire.
And
Meyerhoff,
now you can see my badge better too. I'm closer.
Yes,
you can see my Texas Ranger badge.
Left side's my better side.
Okay.
So this is Claire Meyerhoff. I'm the special guest host here at Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio. My guest today is Tony Martignetti, who is one of the greatest teachers in the world of planned giving, I think, because when I started in the business, I had a lot of questions, and Tony was so generous with his time. I'd call him up and say, really, what is a charitable remainder trust? Like, tell me all about that. So you were always so helpful, so I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's not get carried. Greatest, I don't know. One of the greatest.
Most
let's not get carried away, but
know.
It's a pleasure to help the community and you. Yes.
Thank you. Here's something that I have really noticed being in plan giving. I've become sort of evangelical about it. Everywhere I go, if I run into someone who's from a nonprofit, I immediately ask them, so do you have some sort of a plan giving program? Do you get bequests? What do you do? And what I hear a lot of times is, oh, we're not big enough for that. We're not big enough for that. And I say, no, it's really easy. And I start to tell them about how they can start a basic planned giving program. But I can only take it so far because I just know about sort of the communication and the messaging. So if you're a small nonprofit, a small organization, and you want to start a planned giving program, and you do a little marketing, you put it in your newsletter, and gosh, someone actually calls you and says, yes, I have made you the beneficiary of my retirement plan.
Okay.
Or something. What's sort of the next step that the small nonprofit has to take to actually accept these gifts?
Okay. First thing is say thank you. We can never say thank you enough, but the first, whether it's a phone call or it comes in by a reply card on a mailing that you did or whichever, you want to say thank you very much. Now, in your hypothetical, it was an IRA gift. Is that right?
In my hypothetical.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we'll stick with the IRA gift. So we want to make sure that the donor understands that they are now going to be part of the close community of our charity, and the ideal way to do that is through a recognition society, which is just a way of another way of saying thank you. So I hope that the charity would have a small and it's a small charity, so a small recognition society. There might just be 8 or 10 people who have remembered the charity in some way in their will or IRA or other estate plan method. But we want to say thank you consistently. We don't want to just say thank you at the time we find out, and we do that through our recognition society. I hate the name Legacy Society. Heritage Circle. Oh my God, it's so generic. There are thousands of heritage circles. Name your society. You have free reign. Like, you name it anything you want. Name it for something that's iconic to your organization. It could be a person. It could be an animal. It could be, in some cases, maybe a bigger charity. Maybe it's a building, or I have a client where it's the Bell Tower Society, because people used to meet at the Bell Tower. Now it's a college campus. It's different than the small charity. But make it unique to your organization.
And this is really the great part for marketing, because if you create the society and you name it, it gives you something to talk about. You're announcing it. You have this now. So let's say in the past you have received a couple of bequests and you just had them and there's no sort of organization of it. Well, you've come up now with the society. So let's say it's called the Elm Tree Society.
Okay.
Because you have a beautiful elm tree on the front lawn of your building.
Perfect.
It's the Elm Tree Society. And in your next newsletter, at your next event, you can talk about that. We have created the Elm Tree Society. It's so special. It's this, it's that, it's the other thing. If you do X, Y, and Z, you will be in the Elm Tree Society. So it gives you something to talk about. And that's the key to marketing, is that you need to have something to talk about. Just the fact that you exist isn't enough. You need to have some news, something that's new going on to talk about.
And I love the Elm Tree Society too, because then when you have a little recognition lunch, you can have little leaves on the tree, little leaves on the tables.
You can do
and the tree is deep rooted in our work and our stories. And here's a story from the tree. It's okay. I go too far, but the point is, you make it something iconic, and yes, it gives you something to talk about. And I love the image of a deep-rooted tree too. I just that, even though that's just, and she comes up with these off the top of her head. Is that remarkable?
Well, trees are great. And speaking of coming up with things off the top of your head, I was visiting a friend of mine for her 50th birthday in Massachusetts in February, and her husband is a financial planner, and he is also the treasurer for his church. And he goes, "Oh, you work in plan giving? We need to do that at my church. We don't have anything." He says, "These people are dying, and we're not getting anything." And I said, "Well, are you asking for them? Are you marketing the planned gifts?" And he says, "No, we're not doing anything." I said, "Sit down." So within about 15 minutes, we laid it all out, and we started with the society. We named the society after a tree that's on a really old tree on the front lawn of the church. So we named it after the tree. And then I said, well, now we have to come up with like a way to talk about it. So do you have any recently realized planned gifts? And he says, yes, we had got some money last year and we used it. The intent was they wanted to upgrade all the handicapped accessible stuff in the church. I said, that's great. I said, do you have a church member who is benefiting from that? And he says, yes, there's this woman, and she wasn't coming to church for a long time because it was hard for her to access the church. I said, that's fantastic. So I said, do you think she'd be game? And he said, yes. I said, okay, you get a photo of her using this handicapped access. You get a great quote from her talking about how wonderful it is now that she can go back to church. You put this in your newsletter, and you talk about the fact that this all happened because of a bequest, and that gives you the opportunity to talk about bequests and your new society. Also, the added bonus, now you have a way to talk about bequests with the woman who has been benefiting from the situation because you have asked her to take her photograph. So now she's a new friend. She's kind of in on it. And that's the key thing, is to kind of get people in on it. So you can make a planned giving program at a kitchen counter on a Sunday morning over a bagel and coffee.
Yes, small nonprofits should not be discouraged at all, thinking that they can't do it. It's just a matter of having simple conversations like you're describing, or putting something simple in your newsletter, and you start with the simplest of gifts, the ones you and I are talking about, the bequest. Maybe go to the IRA if that continues after this year. But charitable bequest, just a gift in your will, alongside your children and grandchildren and your spouse. There's a gift for us. It doesn't have to be a large gift. That's the easy way to start a planned giving program. And by the way, your story, I don't know any of the players, and it still makes my eyes water a little bit because it's such a touching story. It's so poignant. Those are the kinds of tender things that we want to be able to share with others to encourage them to do the same.
Well, it's because it's kind of like we know this secret way to raise money for your organization that's so easy, and a lot of people don't know it. So at the church, they know about it. They know about bequest, but they don't know that it's something that they can go out and ask for. Yeah. They think it's something that just has to fall in their lap. So that's what's so important about talking about it, and talking about it in a way that features the benefits of the planned gift and why it's good now rather than why it's good later.
Okay.
And I think that too many people in the planned giving industry talk too much about this idea of a legacy, that people are sitting around thinking about leaving a legacy and how important a legacy is. I don't think people really wake up in the morning and think about leaving a legacy. I think that when I talk to people that have done planned gifts, they're doing it for the here and now. They're going, you know what? This is something I can do. It makes me feel good. It's good right now. I know I'm helping. I know I'm doing a good thing. And I've never heard a donor ever really say, it's because I want to leave a legacy.
Yeah, no, I don't. You're right. I don't hear that often. I think people who get to that age, are thinking about what they're going to leave behind. But I think it's when they're thinking about that, it's not so much about charity. It's more about what am I going to leave behind for my family. In terms of the legacy, I think that's more family oriented. But you're right. A lot of fundraisers are thinking about are marketing leave your legacy, and I don't think people think in that respect for charity, for charitable purposes. No,
they're doing it because they want to do something. They want to do something smart and savvy and cool right now.
Yeah.
So if you're let's just say I'm a loyal donor to a animal shelter in my town, and I've been giving to them for 15 years, and I'm having a conversation with someone on the staff, and they say, we now have this society where we are accepting planned gifts, and it's this and that, and here's some of the things other people have done, and it's going to be great because we'll be able to do so much. And this person,
yes, and focusing, I'm sorry, but focusing on what the gift does, what the outcome, what the impact is, how this is helping. Is it saving a life? Is it rescuing an animal? What's the outcome that the gift creates? Not so much the focus, which I see too often, is this was a charitable lead unitrust which had a provision for generous estate tax implications, and
it's not about the taxes.
Yeah, do it about the great story that this gift creates, because it has saved a life, educated a child, rescued an animal, given shelter to someone who was abused. I mean, what's the gift doing?
And also, I think, and the other part, the donor part of it is, what can I do? And it's an easy way to be a, quote, philanthropist. Like, you think only rich people can make significant gifts and do something really sincere, but you can do that too. And when I've talked to some people about it, I say, look, you give $100 a year to this organization, but if you made this organization half the beneficiary of that IRA that you have sitting around that has $20,000 in it, and let's say something happened to you tomorrow, your organization would get 10 grand. That's a lot of money. They could do a lot with that 10 grand. And people go, really? I didn't know that. And I think when people realize that they can be a philanthropist, that they can be someone to make a significant impact, that kind of floats their boat too.
It's definitely not just for high net worth people with big assets. It's an ideal way of giving for people of very modest means. Like your example, $10,000, $5,000. Almost anybody could leave $5,000 in their estate. In some method, whether it's IRA or by will. It's just outstanding for people of very modest means to do big things and be philanthropists.
And people also want to be savvy. They want to know that their money is being maximized. So let's just say they have some life insurance they've had around for a long time, and now they're divorced from that spouse that they bought the life insurance for. Their children are grown. Their son is a doctor. Their daughter is a lawyer. And they don't need this life insurance policy anymore. What's anybody going to do with this $500,000 on this guy's life?
Yeah.
And he's 65 years old. So here's this life insurance policy. He could give that to his charity.
Yes, he can actually transfer the ownership or just make them a beneficiary of it. In plan giving, we talk about what you're describing, the excess policy. Like somebody may have taken out a policy to help children in case they had a untimely death, or to make sure the mortgage got paid, or college educations got paid for if they had an untimely death. Now those things are all done. The mortgage is paid or substantially paid. Kids are educated. There is this policy, like you described, that we took out for its purpose, and now that purpose is fulfilled. That is a great gift. As I said, could just be a beneficiary. Just name the charity. All they need is your name and your tax ID number, and you can put that in like a 2-sentence sidebar on a newsletter. Include us in your life insurance policy. Here's our tax ID and legal name. And that's all they need.
And if you want to write a little bit more, you can talk about sort of the scenarios of it. So, because people want to do the right thing with this asset. So let me ask you, if you had a life insurance policy, and let's say it's paid up and it's $500,000, what else could you, if you didn't give it to a charity, what could you do with it right now? You could cash it in, but then what would you pay tax on it, or?
You could cash it in. I don't know that you pay tax. No, I don't think you pay income tax on it if you surrender it now for its cash surrender value. That's an option. You could just keep it and name some other family member a beneficiary of the death benefit. There's not really great options. I mean, so I think charity should at least be a part of it. You can still do 80% for family and 20% for charity, and that doesn't have to be one charity. It could be 4 charities, and they each get 5% of that remaining 20. So and that's a way too of overcoming the objection you might hear, a fundraiser might hear. I'd like to help you, but I have other charities I want to help also. But one life insurance policy can help multiple charities. One will can do that. If we're talking about something bigger like charitable trusts, those can help multiple charities. But keeping it simple, will, IRA, life insurance, any of those 3 can help multiple charities. Just make sure that at the end, when you add it all up, the percentages equal 100. And it might just be 5% for charity or 10, and then the rest for family. Always to be thinking, when you hear, I'd like to help you, but there are others too. These are ways that a person can help lots of charities. Now, being the not exactly host right now, but I recognize we have to wrap up in 30 seconds or so if this is going to fit in the show, like around between 19 and a half and 20 minutes. So
you just took 10 seconds of it. So let's just wrap it up here. I'm Claire Meyerhoff with Tony Martignetti, and we are the co-hosts today for this very moment of Nonprofit Radio, Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio, where you will find fabulous solutions for your small nonprofit.
Big nonprofit ideas for the other 95%. This is Texas Ranger Tony. Thanking Claire. Thank you very much for the switch and sharing some time with me.
Thanks, it was great.
And as always, for being creative producer of Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio. And you're listening to our coverage of the National Conference on Philanthropic Planning in San Antonio, Texas. The conference, of course, hosted by the Partnership on Philanthropic Planning.